All right, it's been a couple of days since we had the new Season 2 build launch and go live. And of course, obviously, we know the big news is rain, right? Rain, rain, rain. But we did have a couple of updates on the dirt side of things, particularly with some new content as we got Millbridge and the micros, both winged and non-winged. So, what are my thoughts on those three things? Well, we're going to take a look at them next. What's up, everybody? Thomas Brennan here. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. And like I said, we're going to be taking a look at the micro sprints, both winged and non-winged, and Millbridge. Now, we had a couple of changes to the dirt side of things. Obviously, we had these cars added. We had Millbridge added. We had SRX added, which is both dirt and asphalt. I'm going to look at those separate in a video. And then we also had some changes to the racing surface of the dirt tracks and some aero changes to the sprint cars, particularly the wing sprint cars. So I'm going to do a separate video on that stuff because there's quite a bit there. The changes are significant. The cars they do feel different now. It's a noticeable difference from last season to this season. So we'll cover that in a different video. I wanted to do this first though, because I'm going to be honest. When I heard the micros were coming, I didn't care. I was like, whatever. Who cares? What do we need micros for? They're going to suck. You're only going to be able to run them on a couple of tracks. And I'm going to be honest with you. I am wrong. I was 100% wrong. It has been a pleasant surprise. These things are fun. I have not driven them a ton. I've done just a couple of test sessions. I hopped into one hosted race with some friends last night, turned a few laps, but they're fun. They're a lot of fun. So we're going to take a look at those. I'm going to show you those. We're also going to take a look at Millbridge because Millbridge is definitely unique in the sense that it's a very small track. I don't think really the micros, maybe the Legends cars, and maybe the dirt midgets. Even the midgets, I think, is kind of a stretch. But we'll take a look at the track too with the micros. So let's head over and take a look. All right, so we've got the micro wing sprints here. We'll take a look at the non-winged ones here in a second. Now, this is iRacing has this up as free content, which is awesome. And they are a rookie series. Now, looking at the schedule, it looks like only the winged cars are being run in the rookie series, which I'm kind of upset about. I was really hoping that they were going to do a non-winged rookie series as well. I think a lot of people are missing out on really fun racing in the non-wing sprint cars. And I think people don't do it because they're scared of them. And they should be. They're hard to drive. They're not easy. They are hard to drive. We don't have anything to help you prepare for those cars. Nothing. A 305 wing sprint car is not going to help prepare you for a 360 non-wing. It's just not. So I was really hoping that the micro would at least be something to give people an idea of what the car is going to feel like, the difference between a winged and a non-wing, because you can tell the difference between the two. But we don't have that in terms of a series. So that's kind of a bummer. Now, other than that, the car itself is great. It looks really cool. I'm not, I didn't do micro racing when I was racing back in the day. I was around it a little bit, but that was only when the micros were running at the same track we were running at when we were running Outlaw Karts. I know that they're a very big deal now. But they're fun, man. They're a lot of fun. So if we look here in the garage real quick, I've got the iRacing setup uploaded. I did change the tire pressures just because I wanted to test a little theory. I maxed them all out. Test it for yourself. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. You've got the nose wing, the top wing. The top wing is essentially like we've got with the winged sprint cars, where it goes 20 to 30. Okay. I haven't played too much with the wing angle. I've just been kind of leaving it at wherever it is. Same thing with the nose wing. It goes 18 to 26. I've just been leaving it at whatever iRacing has it at. What I will tell you though is these cars pick up the front wheels really easy. They will wheelie very, very easy. These cars feel like they have more forward drive than the dirt midgets, which I kind of wish the midgets had more forward drive than they do. But regardless, setup stuff is all basically the same. It's what you would find on a midget, essentially. You've got the coil springs up front with the bars in the back. The bars are obviously softer. The wheel spacing is different, but it's the same principle. It does have a Packer shim on here. It goes 0 to 2 inches, and then the bump rubber rate goes 0 to 500. So essentially what we used to have on the wing sprint cars, we used to have just these options. You could go 0 to 2 inches and 0 to 500. That's basically what they've got on here now. Okay. Fuel and gear ratio. Now, the gear ratio, really quick, is interesting because, first of all, it's going to be a rookie series in the officials, which means it's fixed. But I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people doing leagues with these things. I can already see the number of Tulsa shootout special events we're going to see next year around Chili Bowl. The gear ratio is really interesting because if you look here at the ratios, you go 596 to 745. That doesn't look like a lot of options until you hop in the car and realize that this is a 4-speed transmission? Is it 4 or 5? 5-speed transmission. Okay? A lot of times you are not going to be you're not driving this thing in 5th gear at Millbridge, for example, with the gear ratio. You're driving it in 3rd. So what gear you're in is definitely going to matter. And when you do starts and restarts, if you're not careful in the wrong gear, you're going to pick up the front end, okay? So let's turn a couple laps here. We'll take a look at this thing. First of all, like I said, if you can see it, we'll pick up the front end. Also, one thing to note, I would recommend putting on the auto clutch for this car. I would use the auto clutch just for the fact that if you spin, and these things can break loose on you really quick, you got to catch these cars quick. If you spin and you don't push the clutch in, the car's going to die. Okay, so I would recommend using the auto clutch at least for that reason. All right, now if we go out here on the track, you can, and keep in mind, in this track, we'll talk more about the track in a minute. This is 100% pre-gen. This track is not very slicked off. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll get more into the track stuff later. But these things you can basically just rip. And essentially, you don't even need the lift, really. You can hold them wide open. You are going to have to manhandle them a little bit more than a wing sprint, like than the full-size sprint cars, but not much more. You're still wanting to keep them straight. Like right there, I just scraped the wall. But they can be very twitchy. But you can hear it bogging down. If you get the car too sideways, it will bog down. I actually found that lifting and keeping it straighter seemed to be a little bit faster. Whoa, caught the berm there. But you can see right there, I spun. If we didn't have auto clutch, the car would have died. So that's what I'm talking about with the auto clutch. And so last night when we were testing at Chili Bowl, we would run 3rd gear on the bottom and 4th gear around the top. Chili Bowl's not that big, but it's big enough for these cars to where changing the gear actually makes a difference in terms of the line you're going to run. And there, it's just hitting the limiter, spinning the tires. So maybe you wouldn't want to run second. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't played around these things enough. I've just done a little bit with them, and they're definitely fun. I actually think, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, because I never thought in a million years I would say this. I actually think that as a learning tool, these cars are going to help people as much, if not more, than the 305s, believe it or not. Just because there's so much more of a handful. The 305 and the 305s are obviously bigger, but they're on bigger tracks. These, the power to weight ratio is so good. I think iRacing did a good job with. Now, I've never driven a micro. I have no idea how these things feel in real life. No clue. But I can tell you from what I know about race cars, right? And the limited racing experience that I do have in terms of me actually being the driver, these feel pretty good. I would imagine that this is close to what it would feel, or at least a general idea of it. So I think they did a good job with them. You know, when you hit the throttle, the car's definitely, it's got grip. So overall, like I said, I think they did a good job with them. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. I think you're going to see a lot of them in leagues and stuff like that. I don't know if we'll ever see them in a different capacity in official races other than rookie series. But regardless, I think they're going to be fun. I have tested them on other tracks. I will say this, particularly for the wing cars, once you get past a quarter mile, they're not fun. It's like Talladega. It's kind of like Bristol in the wing cars. It's actually worse than Bristol because at least the wing cars, like the 410s and 360s, you're going fast enough to where you can have these. You're just wide open, keeping it super straight, and it's just too big. So the quarter mile tracks and lower, right? Chili Bowl, obviously, Millbridge, Kern Mini, Kokomo, Fairbury, Lima Land, those, what is that, 8 tracks? I mean, that's a lot of small tracks there. So I would say those tracks would be like the ones to run these. Anything bigger than that, I don't think it's going to be very fun, at least for me. You may think otherwise, but at least for me, I don't think it'll be very fun. So that's the wing version. Let's take a look next at the non-wing version. All right, so we've got the non-wing micro up now. iRacing setup once again. One thing I noticed about the non-wing versus the wing car for the micros is that it's kind of the opposite of the big cars, the actual non-wing sprint versus wing sprint. See, on the non-wing sprint, you would run that car much more loose in terms of the setup versus the wing car because of all the downforce. With these, it's almost the opposite. You want to run the non-wing a little bit tighter. And it's because the car is so much more loose because it doesn't have that wing. See, the top wing on the micro, especially at tracks like this, you feel it more when you turn, right? That sideboard really slows you down and keeps you from over-rotating. It's not like it sucks you to the track like it does on the bigger cars. Obviously, there is a downforce aspect to it, but it seems to more or less slow you down, especially on the rotation. But you can see the grip that this car has. I mean, if you aren't careful with the throttle, it literally picks up the front end. The thing that I like about these cars is even though they're small, you have to still use some throttle control with them, because if you break them loose and bog them down, you lose too much speed. I honestly don't know if shifting is going to be a thing with these cars. Like I said, I've never driven them in real life, so I don't know. You can actually drive them with the throttle. I'm really impressed with these things. I gotta be honest, man. I was not expecting this. I thought these were gonna be like neutered versions of the dirt midget with the wing, or I thought they were gonna be like Legends cars, but they look like micros. Like, that's what I was expecting. I did not expect them to be this good. I think they really did a good job with these cars. Like I said, I've never driven them in real life. I have no idea what they feel like, but from what I can see, feel, and tell, and what I know of race cars and being around them and stuff like that, and then people that I do know who've driven these things, a few of them have said that they feel pretty good, right? Obviously, we're never going to be at that 1-to-1. We talk about that all the time. But in terms of what they've got, I got to tell you, man, they're fun. And to me, that's the number one thing. When I hop on to sim racing, yes, I want it to simulate real life and stuff like that, but for me, I'm more worried about sim with the big cars, right? With the big stuff, late models, wing sprint cars, right? The Outlaws stuff, the NASCAR, the Indy car, the GT3 car, stuff like that. If I hop into a micro, yeah, if it's realistic, that's great. I just want to have fun with it. And these things are a lot of fun, and they're racy. And that is the biggest surprise for me, because like I said, I did not have high expectations for these things. They were very, very low. And they have not only surpassed them, they've shattered them, which is a very, very pleasant surprise. All right, you guys. So that's going to do it all for my review of the new winged and non-winged micro sprints. Like I said, I like them. I think they're fun. Done a couple of little hosted sessions with them, test races, stuff like that. And I've had some fun with them. And from what I've heard from everybody that I've talked to, they like them as well. So overall, I got to say, good job to iRacing on them. Like I said before, I've never ran those things in real life. I have no idea what they're supposed to feel like. To me, they're basically like a big outlaw kart with suspension, right? Like, that's what they're going to feel like. Is that how they're supposed to feel? I have no idea. Like I said, I have no clue. But the people that I've talked to and ones who have actually been in those cars, they say that they feel pretty good. Whether or not they're accurate, as we can debate that all day long. As we've seen on the sim, we can have a car and have real world drivers, and one will say this feels real, and then another one will say this feels like crap. So I never know what to go with. But from my personal point of view, I think they feel good, and I think they're a lot of fun, and that to me is the most important thing. And couple that with the fact that you can actually drive them with the throttle, which is a big deal on dirt, especially when you talk about rookie series, teaching people how to drive the car with the throttle. That's so critical on dirt racing, in all forms of racing, but especially on dirt. And now we've got something that does that, right? You think about the street stocks in rookie class, that's debatable, right? Those are like big slugs out there. Then you get to the D class, you got the limited late models and the 305s. Obviously, the size makes a difference, the track size and all that stuff like that. But I think there's something to be said about the micro in terms of being able to learn to keep it straight and smooth and drive it with the throttle. I think you can learn that in those cars, which is huge. That's really huge. So, in my opinion, I like them. Good job, iRacing. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else we get in the future. So, you guys, that'll do it. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. Now, before I go, if you like it, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Also, subscribe. And you want to subscribe if you want to catch my next upcoming videos here. We're going to be doing another review of the dirt changes that were made, because we had changes to the track surface itself, both the tacky and the slick. And we also had aero changes to the wing sprint cars, which was significant. It really was. I've been playing around with this, and it seems to be a fairly significant change. And the track surface changes seems to have affected all the cars in general. So we're going to do another video on that, because we got a lot to cover there on that front. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that. Also, we've got a ton of stuff coming in terms of other videos, content, live streams. I ran the IndyCar iRacing series last night at Sebring. my first ever road race in an Indy car, and it was a ton of fun, and I'm going to be running that series this year, and I like it. I have fallen in love with the Indy car, so I'm going to be doing a lot more of that stuff. A lot more road content is coming, and yeah, we just got a ton of stuff coming. We've got our big event coming up in May with the companion events, the Legacy 500 with the double up and the SSR Classic, and just a ton of stuff that we're doing. So if you want to stay up to date and in tune with all of that stuff, be subscribed to this channel, and then head over to schoolofsimracing.net. Click on the button that says join community, and that'll get you the links for all of our stuff, the Facebook group, the Discord group, and all that stuff like that. But that'll do it. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. Until next time, I want to wish you good luck, good racing. Take care.